Another important subject to talk about with respect to children is how do we become advocates for children? Some of us aren't called to be caregivers, but we can all be advocates. Advocacy is basically speaking to someone in a position of responsibility and authority on behalf of someone whose rights are being trampled. And if that's the case, what's the most common form of advocacy? Prayer. Praying to God, who has the authority, has the power to do something about the issues that we're facing. So all of us can be advocates. All of us are advocates if we're Christians, if we're praying Christians. But how can we then understand the issues about children's needs and speak up for them? We might not all be caregivers, but we can all be advocates. And in fact, when I'm speaking with church leaders, with denominational heads, mission people, it's not to make them a caregiver. In fact, I sometimes have a bit of a problem with insisting that they have a practicum if they take a course, where they're actually caring for children. Some of us are not gifted. For some of us, children may be little aliens. We just don't know how to deal with them. But that's okay, as long as we understand how strategic and important that they are in God's sight and in missions and in our strategies. So I often encourage the leaders not to think about being a caregiver, but being an advocate. And as an advocate, they need to know the subject matter. They need to know what the Bible has to say. They need to know what the issues are. As advocates, they can help set the agenda in their churches. They can affirm the caregivers, the Sunday school workers, and encourage them and equip them and train them and set that tone in their churches because they know how important those people are. Sometimes you'll have a pastor who has, Susie working with the 4th through 6th graders in his church, and so he thinks he's got children covered. He goes off and he tries to do something more important. But in fact, it's Susie working with those 4th through 6th graders who's the most important evangelist in her church. That's where the decisions are going to be made to follow Christ. That's where his church will survive and thrive or die away if Susie does her job there. So in a church that is child-sensitive and child-friendly, that pastor is going to be affirming and celebrating the children's workers and making sure that they're trained, they're equipped, they're celebrated in ways that they should be.